Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode where we analyse a person's 2k row on the rowing machine profile, almost stroke by stroke. But before we get into the analysis, I'll ask you to do two things that are really helping out the channel, helping to expand the Yam squad. Number one, if you could hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. And if you're already subscribed, if you could hit that like button. Both of those things genuinely help push the channel in YouTube algorithm land, and I really appreciate it. So let's go right into the analysis. We'll bring up the screen and here we go. So I've got my laptop here, I've got the screen here, and we're going to look through the score of Alexander Vyazovkin. Hopefully I've not butchered his name, but we're going to go with Alexander from now on. So here's his graph, and if you can remember my graph from previously, from the other video that I analysed my own score, it seems a lot more organised than mine, which is a very good thing. He had a very good score of 543.5, and clearly he's got that down to a T. So, as we see on the screen, the blue line is the speed that you'll see on your rowing machine screen, the split per 500 meters, and the red line is the stroke rate, the amount of strokes you're taking per minute. You usually see that in the top right of your rowing machine screen. So we'll go through. As you can see in the first part, we have that little bit of a gap on the sort of start time, and I spoke about that last time I did the video based on my 2K. Someone actually reached out from the timing team, the people that actually make these graphs and record all the data, to say why this is recording sort of time but no distance. Well, I'll read it out. When you set it up yourself, the clock starts counting when the erg detects your first stroke. This is probably when you've pulled about half a meter of the chain. When using the race system, however, the start is random. All the clocks are started at exactly the same time, not depending on anyone's stroke, which is what I said. I thought it was based on sort of the person who starts first and then everyone goes off, but not quite. This means that the clock starts from full standstill and you lose the time up to you've been able to pull out the same amount of chain. So I was correct that saying after 1 second of pulled 0.7 meters on my score, but I haven't completed my first stroke. That's why the monitor says the rate is 0, and that's why my average, or everyone's average, looks so bad. So in my case, I pulled 0.7 meters in the first time it was recording, and here Alexander pulled 0.9 meters, so he actually had a stronger first pull. And his first split that he saw was as we see here, a 121 at rate 52, and I believe mine was 123 at a 69. But obviously these rates are not actual rates, it's just what the screen's recording. That's just what comes up as it's not reading a full stroke, as Alexander from Time Team says, but it is still a factor of what you have been pulling. So he started off very strongly, and as we go forward here, it's a really interesting strategy that he's taken, even though the majority of his 2K is reasonably flat paced. So for me, I like to negative pace my 2K, my 5K, whatever rowing piece on the rowing machine I have. And that's based on my physiology, is just how I am made, and I'm working on making my tests that bit more flat paced as I get fitter and fitter. But for me, I'm suited a bit more to that negative split right now. So back to this 2K at 5:43. So if you look here, there's a big chunk of time spent going very fast, and then it's all of a sudden over a few strokes, boom, right on the pace and right along here from just before a minute. So around here, there's a shift down in gears. So it looks like he's in second or third gear, and then all of a sudden, according to this, exactly 40 seconds, the next stroke, he drops off from a 119, 121, 124, and then settles on a 25, 26. where he was previously going one. So for that first 40 seconds, 113, 114, 115, 116. So for 40 seconds, he's sub 120 average. And that's absolutely savage. I challenge you to do 40 seconds sub 120. That's a lot of sauce. And not only is he doing 40 seconds sub 120, he's doing 40 seconds sub 120 and then going on to finish the 2K for the rest of the 5 minutes of his 2K. So this is the most interesting part of his 2K, and I want to try and reach out to him and ask his strategy, and hopefully he's willing to talk about it, but if not, that's okay too. But obviously this was a choice to do around 40 seconds of pretty flat out effort, one sub 120 effort, and then shift down both in rate and split. So he is rating around 40, so high 40s down to low 40s, shifting down almost 10 beats to mid 30s, low to mid 30s, and mid 30s, mid 20s on the split as well. So it is really interesting because I've been speaking to Phil Clapp, who did the 500 meter world record on the rowing machine not long ago, and his strategy on the 500 meter world record is your body has roughly 40 seconds before anything really starts to hurt, before the lactic acid builds up and you start to really feel it and slow down. So for Phil, for his 500 meter world record, basically it didn't matter how hard he tried in the first 40 seconds, the pain would always start at 40 seconds, or give or take maybe a couple of seconds. But the idea was for him to bank as many meters in that first 40 seconds as possible and then hold on for 20 seconds. So because his world record is 110. But that's a whole different story for the 2K. You can do that, maybe you don't feel it for those first 40 seconds, but post those first 40 seconds, you have spent a lot of energy to then hold on for, in this case, another 5 whole minutes. Not another 20 seconds, another entire 5 more minutes, which I wouldn't like to sit in that place. For me, if I did 40 seconds pretty much flat out effort and then hold on, at least I would think, I haven't actually tried this approach to a 2K, I would think at maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I'd blow my doors off. So the reason I think that is because this is close to a fly and die effort. This is what you would consider a fly and die effort. One where you go out, you fly, you get too close to the sun and you fall. But since it is such a sharp cut-off at that 40 seconds down, shift the pace down, shift the rate down, and hold the split at he's so consistent after that, it makes me think that those first 40 seconds, first 40 seconds are not flat out, and 2, the actual pace that he's doing post those first 40 seconds is very far off of his flat out. And it'd be really interesting to see if he took that first 40 seconds out and jumped on to, say instead of holding 126 at the 35, 127 in the middle, and say he held 125 for the entire piece, how that would make him feel versus doing that 120, sub 120 for 40 seconds and then slowing down to 126, 127. In my opinion, it would make it feel easier through the middle of the race, but with the overall time, if he would he be able to hold a 125 for the whole entire piece, rather than almost doing the opposite, where usually people see a big sprint at the end, and in actuality he slowed down, as you can see in the graph, not a lot, only a few splits. So from 127s, and he finished on 131 in his last stroke. So he lost 4 splits. So he was at that point where he was slowing down. So he's spent the energy very, very well. But it's so surprising to see the energy really just firing out for 40 seconds. I would really like to speak to him and ask him how he felt, even if he doesn't want to speak about his strategy, how he felt going through the piece. Because like I said, if I did this for a 2K, not necessarily the splits, but if I did 40 seconds at that effort, at a very, very close to flat out effort, and then backed off and slowed down, I really wonder how I would feel. And maybe that's something I can look in my next 2K, but I would be really interested to see how that would do in a normal 2K, because for me, this is almost the opposite of how I would do a 2K. If you imagine the splits at the end are shifted, splits at the start are shifted to the end, and the splits at the end are shifted to the start. So I start off relatively slow and then speed up. So it'd be interesting to see that as well. And his rate, look how consistent his rate is. So apart from the first 40 seconds where he's quite high, he comes down, shifts those gears down, and sits on 35, 36, 35, 30, a couple of 37s in there, but 35, 36. Even at the end, when he's slowing down, the rate only goes up to 38. It doesn't go up to, well, I was at 55, which obviously that was not the greatest of ideas, but so consistent on that rate. And I could learn a good amount from this 2K graph here and how consistent it is, because generally my 2Ks aren't too consistent, and for mine I didn't stick to my plan as well. And you can see here that he had a plan and he really stuck to it. It's really impressive to see 40 seconds in, shift down, and maintaining even towards the end, where I would think that he would have at least picked up the rate slightly more just to hold that split. But again, I don't know how he felt, so he could have been gassing and had no more legs and couldn't rate any higher, and that would be what would be suggested by the slowing down of the split. But really interesting one here. Like I've said, having all of this data online at World Rowing is amazing. You can flick through everybody's 2Ks, whatever age group you want to look at, you can see how different people approach the 2Ks. So I was 7th, Alexander was 1st, I went 5:52.6, Alexander went 5:43.5, so 9 seconds of a difference. And it looks like I will know what I'll be trying out at some point, whether that's obviously trying to be more consistent, that is a given, but also maybe I try to do a longer push at the start. But we will soon find out about that as we progress with the training block here in Bath. And really excited to see what we can do 2K wise. But that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully enjoyed a little bit of a chat about Alexander's 2K. And it is really interesting, like I said, because this 2K is a very different approach to my approach. And I bet you in the top 10, there are another few different approaches as well. So let me know in the comments below if you have anybody in particular you want me to look at in the World Championships, or if you have data like this, whether it's on the Erg Data app or through a different race at a different time through the same software that we used here, so I can have a chat about that and see what we think as the Yam Squad. And again, if you do like this type of content, let me know and we can kind of make some more of it. And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Like I said at the start of the video, it does actually help the channel. It helps push the channel off of the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm that wants to show people more videos. So if you did actually enjoy the video and you press like, you press subscribe, then it pushes the video to other people as well as you getting sort of a more personalized feed as well. So hopefully you did enjoy it, and I will see you next week for the next episode of the vlogs, which I've got a really interesting one on Monday. I'm doing something that I have never done before, and I'm hoping that I can vlog the journey. So see you on Monday.